Welcome to Somerset Showcase. Today we're very excited to have Tony Gaffney as our featured guest. Tony has been called the greatest basketball player to ever play at Somerset High School. For the past 11 years he's been playing professional basketball overseas. He has also spent some time with two of the most storied franchises in the NBA, and he's got a new podcast, so we're going to talk to Tony about those things. Welcome back to Somerset. From your globe-trotting you've been doing for the past 11 years. I know you come back here to see your family, but you've been doing a lot of traveling.
It's always great to come back here. I have such fond memories and a lot of great relationships in the town of Somerset. In southeastern Mass in general, it's always been really good to me. My wife is from Somerset, so I have family here in town. It's a special place for me. I always get that warm feeling when I fly back home and land in Boston, Massachusetts at Logan Airport and make the drive down 24 to Berkeley, Somerset. It always gets me going a little bit.
So why don't we start with your time at Somerset High School and then take a little journey through all the places that basketball has brought you to, because there's been many of them. So your senior year at Somerset High School in 2002, that has to be, out of all the years I've been covering sports here, which has been over 20 years, that had to have been the most exciting season I've seen. I mean, nobody really expected it at first, because you were 2-20 the year before, and then you just started winning games, and then you started beating teams that nobody expected you to beat, and the super fans started to get bigger and bigger, and you had Jay Lito, who was the hockey star, leading the cheers of all the students and the super fans, and you were averaging a triple-double in points, rebounds, and blocks, which is just unheard of around here. And all of a sudden you go on this big run in the tournament and get to the semifinals. And how often do you think about that nowadays, and do you stay in touch with some of those guys from that team? Yeah,
that was a lot of fun. I think for the town in general, it was just something that really brought everybody together. It was, again, like you said, it was very unexpected. Aside from maybe myself and my brother, I don't think many people had aspirations of the team doing too much. We understood how good we could be, and we knew that people weren't going to expect us to be very good, but that's kind of makes for the best stories. We were kind of a Cinderella story. Across the state, we made it easy for people to root for us. We had a bunch of hardworking guys that were overachieving. Some said, myself included. It was just one of those things that I probably think about it more often than most people would believe. I still talk to a lot of the guys from that team. Obviously, my brother's one of my best friends, so we talk daily. We actually don't talk about that often. For one reason or another, we don't. It's a phenomenal memory that we have, and it's plastered all over our childhood bedroom still in Berkeley. Newspaper clippings, great ones that you actually wrote. So for us, it was just one of those things that made up a big part of our childhood, and it was just such an awesome thing to see the way that the town embraced the team, and like you said, I actually golfed with Jay Lito not that long ago, maybe a couple of months ago, and having other great athletes in the school supporting the team and wanting to be a part of it too, just because it was that much fun. It just made it that much more special for the town, and it was one of those once-in-a-lifetime type things, and again, I can't help but smile thinking about it.
Do you know that the MIAA has a rule that was instituted because of Jay Lito?
No,
do you know what it is?
I didn't know that. Is it called the Jay Lito rule?
No.
We need to have it changed.
But spectators at games are no longer allowed to take their shirts off anymore.
Wow. Oh, so they toned it down because of Jay.
Yes.
That's really, really funny. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So from there, you went to Northfield Mount Herman. You played a year of prep school ball. You went to BU, where you played for a couple of years, and then you went to UMass, where you really blossomed in your senior year, and you were the defensive player of the year in the Atlantic 10 Conference. You were third in the country in blocks, and playing Division I college ball as opposed to high school basketball, where you were blocking a lot of shots from guys that were much shorter than you. You were playing against guys who were, your size or bigger, and you were still this great defensive player. Where did you develop the defense? And was it a certain coaches, or how did you get to become such a great defensive player?
When I was younger, I don't know if you remember, when I was a freshman at Somerset, I was a shooter.
Yeah.
I came in at the end of games to hit threes. The bigger I got, the more I realized that if you're gonna succeed at this game, you got to be able to do a lot more than shoot. And I was raised in a family that I was taught hard work at a very young age. You got to earn everything you get, and I think a lot of my work ethic in terms of defense kind of came from my upbringing. My father was an extremely hardworking man, and that was kind of all I knew. Defense is hard work. You don't have to be. I shouldn't say you don't have to be skilled to play defense, because it definitely takes a lot of skill, but it's a different kind of skill, and it's a skill that if you have the right knack for the game, then you can be a great defensive player. Now, to block shots, it's a lot of it has to do with timing. 36 years old, and I can still block 5 shots in a pro level game. 6, it's one of those things that, for me personally, blocking a shot is more exciting than dunking on somebody or knocking down a three, just because it's that, it's demoralizing to an opposing team. If you feel like you get a wide open layup, it can be game changing, and it's just one of those things that comes with hard work. And again, it was something that I started to learn at a very, very young age, because it's something my father instilled in me.
It's an underappreciated part of the game.
Yeah, very much so.
But it's helped you to go on to play professional basketball.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so after UMass, and this was the last time I saw you until now, I saw you at the old gymnasium at the old Somerset High School, where you were working out as you were getting ready to go play summer league and go to training camp with the Los Angeles Lakers. And you got to play with the late great Kobe Bryant there. I saw a video of you online of him passing the ball to you and you scoring. So obviously you have a different perspective on him as a lot of us people who just watched him on TV. What are your lasting memories going to be of him after that tragedy last year? What do you?
Yeah, that was tough. I remember being in Nahariya, and reports started to come out that there was a helicopter crash in California, and then 10 minutes later there were reports that Kobe Bryant was on board. And at the beginning, you don't really believe everything you see at first. It needs to be credited with facts, but when the reports started to come out, I felt like I sunk into my couch. I sat there for what felt like 6 hours straight, just, sometimes in tears. It was funny. The night of the NBA draft, I spent it with my family, and I wasn't selected. There was an outside chance that I was selected. So I watched the draft with family and, a couple of friends, just at my folks' house in Berkeley. Obviously the draft came and went. The disappointment of not getting drafted probably lasted, a couple hours. And then the next morning I got a call from my agent, and he told me, there's a great opportunity for you. I spoke with Mitch Kupchak, Ronnie Black, and Phil Jackson, and they want to bring you into Summer League. And if all goes the way that they think it will, they're going to bring you to vet camp, and you're going to have a shot at their 15th roster spot. So, being a diehard Celtics fan growing up my whole life, my initial reaction was, "You're kidding me, right?" And about 5 minutes later, I was like, "Yeah, my bags are packed. I'm ready to go." I was fully dressed in purple and gold, and it was the first NBA team that believed in me, that believed that I could play at that level. So, you know, when it comes to that, it's easy to, anyone that believes in you, it speaks for itself. So for me, it was such an easy transition, moving out to El Segundo. And one of the first players that I happened to meet was Kobe. So I went through the summer league. I played really well. Sure enough, they brought me to vet camp along with 3 or 4 other rookies. And I get there around, I think it's beginning or middle of August, and I'm sitting in the locker room. They had won the championship the year before, so most of the guys are, you know, vacationing still. It's the off season, but I hear, you know, somebody working out on the court. You know, I hear balls bouncing. I hear some guys yelling, and I'm just, you know, I think it's probably 9 o'clock. I'm getting ready to go work out, hit the weight room, and then get onto the court. And in comes Kobe Bryant running. He's like, "What's up, man?" He's like, "I'm Kobe." I'm like, "I gotta go." He's like, "I really gotta go to the bathroom." So he sprinted past me, went to the bathroom. And that was my first ever encounter with Kobe Bryant. And then he came out and we spoke a little bit, and he was like, I hear you're this defensive stopper." He's like, "When you're ready, he's like, "I'll be out on the court." And I'm like, okay, this is not what I'm expecting at this point. You know, I hear all the stories about vets and not even be able to name half their rookies by the end of a full season. And here he is telling me I got to meet him out on the court. So
he's one of the greatest players of all time, and he's asking you if you can try to stop him.
We ended up playing one-on-one for about 3 weeks straight. He made me be there as early as I possibly could to meet him in the gym. And the best part about the whole thing, I didn't play offense one time. I only played defense for 3 weeks straight. He implemented different rules throughout our games of one-on-one. He would say he's only going to score with his left hand one day. He's only going to score right-handed from 6 to 10 feet. So he would tell me what he's going to do, and he would just tell me to stop him.
Wow.
And that's how he worked on different aspects of scoring. I'd never seen anything like that. You know, I knew how to work hard. Just because you know how to work hard, you don't always know the right stuff to work on. And being able to witness how he went about his business from such an early age in my professional career, I think I owe most of the credit to the fact that I'm 36 and still getting contract offers to that. Huh. To see arguably, maybe not arguably, maybe the best player in the world at that time, in August, when 99% of all NBA players are on vacation, resting their bodies, doused in sweat, working. I don't know if that's a sickness or it's just a drive, but it's to see that, you know, as a 24, 25-year-old rookie was probably one of the most valuable things that I got to experience in my early career. He treated me extremely well. He became like a mentor in my short time there. He became a mentor to me. And yeah, I think it was one of those things that a lot of people don't understand because I was probably there for a cup of coffee in the big picture. But yeah, he was just someone that, you know, I'll forever be grateful and forever miss. And I owe a lot to him and what he taught me.
Did you block any of his shots?
I'm sure I did. We had a few. You know, I went through the preseason. I played in all of the preseason games. My first ever bucket was on a pass from Kobe. But leading up to those preseason games, they have what's called the gold and purple scrimmage. They allow all the season ticket holders to come, and I played extremely well. I remember playing extremely well in that game. And after that game, 3 of the other rookies were cut, and they kept me. This was right before preseason games start. You know, where they're starting to fine-tune things for the regular season. So, you know, it was. I played really, really well, and I do remember blocking one of his shots in that game. And I remember him looking to the official with a death stare. And about 5 seconds after I blocked it, the ref put his hand in the air and called a foul.
That's
I don't know if that counts, but yeah.
So you just missed making that team. You were the last guy cut. But then you got an opportunity to play professional basketball in Israel. What was your initial reaction to that when you were told that you could play professionally over there?
Yeah, it was a bit of a whirlwind because, you know, it was in maybe a 2 or 3 day period, cut from the Lakers, extreme disappointment, you know, after essentially being told you made the team. They actually, because they cut me a little bit late after the season started, they had to pay me a little bit, which was, I guess, I was the lowest paid player in the NBA for that entire year, and Kobe was the highest, so that was kind of ironic. But no, so, you know, you have to get over that disappointment really quick because someone's going to be paying you to do a job a few days later. So, you know, having never really left the country to go to Israel, a country that I didn't know a whole lot about, definitely wasn't easy. It was a little bit of a culture shock at the beginning, and unfortunately, I broke my foot in my first game. I had a stress fracture. I continued to play on it, and the bone ended up breaking. So I was out, I don't know, it was 4 or 5 months in a walking boot. Being over there, though, I stayed there for 2 or 3 months, and I immediately realized I was going to love the country of Israel. It was, the city of Tel Aviv is second, in my opinion, is second to no city in the world. It's my favorite city in the world. It's an extremely diverse city, which is really important to me. It's on the beach, which is wonderful. You know, you're still there to do a job, so having broken my foot in the first game, it was extremely disappointing again. So, you know, in that little window of June to October, there were a lot of disappointments in there. There were a lot of things that, you know, a lot of young basketball players maybe wouldn't be able to handle. But, you know, having not gotten drafted, you know, being cut by the Los Angeles Lakers, your first professional game, breaking your foot, being told you're going to miss the entire season, it's not easy to deal with all of that. I got home, I don't remember, it was probably a little bit after New Year. I spent some time with my family. I think it was around March, mid to end of March, I got a call from my agent, and he said, what are you doing? He goes, I don't remember what I said. He said, I don't really care. He goes, I'll be on my way to Boston first thing in the morning on the 6 a.m. train. And I'm like, okay. He's like, I need you to meet me in Waltham at 8 o'clock. He's like, we're meeting with Danny Ainge and Mike Zarin, the GM and the assistant GM, to sign your contract. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I got off the phone with them not long ago. They're ready to sign you. I'm like, you mean for summer league? I'm like, for next summer? He's like, no, they're signing you right now. Like, you're going to be with them through the rest of, you're going to fly out to Chicago. They're playing a game in Chicago. You're going to fly out tomorrow night and meet them in Chicago. So I didn't really know how to kind of comprehend what was going on because, you know, again, you go through all that disappointment for so long. You know how hard you work just to get out of a walking boot and could try to continue your career. And then your agent tells you that he just spoke with Danny Ainge and the Celtics are signing you. Your hometown, childhood, you know, surreal professional sports team.
That's the dream.
Yeah, so sure enough, I met my agent out there and I was signing the contract for the remainder of the year and a partial optional for the following year. And that was one of the most memorable experiences of my career. That obviously ended in a little bit of disappointment the following year, but you know, having the opportunity to do all the rehab on my broken navicular in my foot with some of the greatest medical staff personnel in the world, not just in basketball. I haven't felt the injury since then. So, you know, having done that and then being a part of a team that, you know, had Ray Allen, who I still speak with occasionally, Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, Rasheed Wallace, Mike Finley, you know, just veterans that, again, I'm still a rookie. just veterans that have done and handled their business the right way for, all of them, 10 plus years. We had Rondo that year, who was young at the time, but you could see the leadership skills that he had and what he brought to an organization. I'd still say he probably has the highest basketball IQ of anyone I've ever played with. You hear the term coach on the floor often, but he is 100% the coach on the floor when he is playing. It's really cool to see, and to be given the opportunity to play with all of them in the midst of one of the greatest seasons in Celtic history, a team that's won 17 championships. You put together that second coming of the big three. I know who the real original big three is.
But those three guys will be Hall of Famers too.
Absolutely, and that was just a really, really special team to be around, and really getting to know Doc Rivers and his family, and I was so fortunate because, again, I was still a kid. In one calendar year, having the opportunity to be a part of the Los Angeles Lakers and the Boston Celtics, that's like being a part of the Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees in the same year as a rookie. It's just something that, again, I can't really put into words how fortunate I was to be given that opportunity. Looking back now as a 36-year-old, it just taught me so much. I will say this, and I've only ever really said this to my father, my wife. My only regret about my time with the Celtics is, again, being a kid, going into that summer, there were so many distractions around me. You're a hometown hero, a local celebrity. I worked very hard. I have regrets thinking in my head that I could have worked harder and that I should have worked harder to stick. Now, they brought in Shaquille O'Neal the following year, Shaq, Delonte West, Nate Robinson, and Von Wafer, and they told me I have a shot to make the team amongst those guys. And I immediately my back was against the ropes at that point when they brought in a group like that. I understood Shaq was at the end of his career, but Shaquille O'Neal or Tony Gaffney, the odds were not in my favor. But those were really the only regret that I had. But I learned valuable lessons, and again, being 36 and still playing and still having the options to play, I don't know if I would be able to say that had I not learned so many of those lessons that first year.
And the Celtics played the Lakers in the finals that year.
We did. Unfortunately, we lost to the Lakers in Game 7 by 4. We had Kendrick Perkins tore his ACL in Game 6, and they destroyed us on the boards in Game 7. And it was funny because probably 5 or 6 years after that, I had seen Danny Ainge in an airport. And we talked for a little bit. Actually, I think we were both landing at Logan Airport. I'm not sure where he was coming from, but we spoke very briefly, and he said, Tony, is like my biggest regret of that year still is that I wasn't able to get you, our hometown kid, NBA championship ring. We were 4 points away from that, but the fact that he had that thought in his mind says a lot about him and that organization. It was, again, I was so fortunate to be able to be a part of that, and I had front row seats to the greatest rivalry in sports, and given the opportunity to fly my parents during the NBA Finals on the team plane back and forth to go to the games. You're allowed to bring your immediate family. Again, it was something that they still speak about, and it's one of those things you got to pinch yourself because it doesn't necessarily feel like it really happened. But yeah, that was an amazing experience, and had we scored 5 more points that season, it would have been even more
if
amazing.
Perk doesn't get hurt, and if you didn't help prepare Kobe to get better, I mean, okay, so you went on to play in a lot of different places, from Spain, Italy, Turkey. What was it like going to all these places that had such different cultures and different languages, and how did you acclimate yourself?
That's a good question, and it's first off, I'll say that doing that and traveling the world to play a game makes you realize how small the world really is. You travel halfway around the globe, and you know, you're especially the way technology is today. You know, when I first started playing professionally, I had teammates I had one that was 38 years old and I was 24, and this was in 2009. So he started his professional career, I think he played 15 years, it was his last year. So he started his professional career in the early 90s. There was no real internet then, there was no, you know, he communicated with his girlfriend, who is now his wife. I think he's almost 50 years old or something, but he communicated with his girlfriend through writing letters. You know, a phone call once a week. So we're not that far removed from that stuff. I was just fortunate enough that, you know, in a time that FaceTime existed, the internet existed, there were so many easier ways to make the world feel smaller, that for me to get acclimated there, again, I love the game of basketball. I always have and I always will. I kept that as my central focus, and doing that, and you know, knowing that I'm being paid to go there to do a job kind of made it a little bit easier. Yeah, I always have had an extremely close family, so leaving them behind was the hardest thing for me. But they made it very easy on me as well, and understanding that, like I said, I had a job to do and I was being paid really well to do it. And again, as difficult as it can be leaving home to travel the world for 10 months of the year, you're still being paid to play a game for a living. That's a blessing beyond words. It's you know, I was extremely fortunate to play a game for a living for as long as I have, that it made traveling pretty easy. And then, you know, by my second or third year of doing so, I loved it. You know, being paid to live in places like Barcelona and Berlin and Tokyo and southern Italy, and these beautiful places that, you know, a lot of people are paying to go on vacation to. You know, I'm being asked to live there for 10 months and allow my family and friends to come visit and travel and watch me play European basketball. It's again, I know I continue to say it, but I'm extremely fortunate and blessed to have been given the tools to have that opportunity to travel the world to play.
And you were an all-star in Germany. It seemed like you were pretty big over there. They seemed to like your style of play.
Yeah, I was an all-star 2 out of my 4 years there. I played 2 years in Bonn and 2 years in Alba Berlin. I just think that, you know, you don't see it as much in the NBA, but in Europe, the fans are such a big part of the game that when you get there, it's not like you're bigger than the fans. Or sometimes you get the feeling in the NBA and in professional sports in America that the players are bigger than the fans. There's no professional sports without fans. It doesn't exist. So the appreciation that fans are and should be given is seen in Europe. It's the first thing you do after a game is you turn to the fans and you clap to the fans to thank them for their support, and you'll never see that in the NBA or in the NFL. You don't turn and clap to the fans. So your interaction with the fans it's significant there. And I learned that, you know, early in my career over there. And I like to think that I'm personable and I enjoy relationships and I enjoy getting to know people personally, and those are things, you know, I will never take fans for granted. You know, if I'm asked, you know, I was asked for an autograph at UMass, you know, some 14 years ago. I get the same feeling if someone asked me for an autograph at 36 today. You know, I'll always give kids and fans the time and respect, and the same way that they've given it to me. They're just an extremely important part of the game, and I think they're undervalued and underappreciated in America.
Okay, and you kept going back to Israel. You've been there 3 times. Why did you like Israel so much?
Yeah, it was one of those things that, you know, I think in 2014, I was on a golf course with some of my buddies in the middle of the summer, and I get a call from my agent saying, I have a really interesting offer for you. He's like, now hear me out. He's like, it's in Jerusalem, Israel. This was 2014, was right after the war in Israel. So I'm thinking to myself, no way, I'm not doing this. And then he told me the figures, and I'm like, okay, I'm listening. And then I was fortunate enough to have a lot of friends that I had met throughout my MBA process, through my college career, that were actually from Israel. Omri Caspi, Gal Meckel, who I knew both personally and really well, enough that I could reach out to them and ask them about the situation in Israel. And they were like, the war was real, but it's over. It's extremely safe. It's one of the most guarded, protected countries in the world. It's been through a lot, so it knows how to handle stuff like that. And they told me that they recommended me taking the deal, and that Jerusalem was a historic organization. It's an organization going in the right direction. They had never won a championship, but it was an offer that I should take. So I ended up speaking to my family about it. I took the deal, and it's been almost 7 years now, and it was, in my professional career, the greatest decision that I made. I had two beautiful kids, both born in Israel, one in Jerusalem, my son Landon, and my daughter Willow was born 6 months ago in Nahariya. It's just a beautiful country. It's I hate using the term Americanized, because maybe they're a little bit older than we are as a country, so maybe we're Israelized. No, it's a great place. It's a place that I'll always go back and visit with my wife. Obviously, for my kids, it's going to be it'll forever be stamped on their passport as their place of birth. So I hope it's as meaningful to them as it is to their mother and I.
But you did win a championship there, and you were Sixth Man of the Year.
I did. It was funny because I got there and I didn't understand the magnitude or the rivalry between Maccabi Tel Aviv and Hapoel Jerusalem. And the first thing I said was, I'm here to win a championship. I wasn't trying to be cocky. I was just, anywhere I ever went, the goal was to try and win a title. I'm not going to sign somewhere if I don't think you have a shot at, competing for a championship. And then I said that, and I got a lot of laughs and comments from fans saying, like, we don't win titles here. Like, we come in second all the time. Like, we can never get over that hump. And my first year there, sure enough, we won the most historic title in the city's history. They'd never won before, and it was in front of, we had a beautiful arena that sat 13,000 people. It was sold out most games, and then after we won that title, all of downtown Jerusalem, the old city, the new city, was just flooded with people, tens, maybe even hundreds of thousands of people that had been waiting for that moment. It was really special. It was something that I'll forever remember, and I still have such great relationships with a lot of the fans in Jerusalem. I'm looking forward to going back to Jerusalem, my post-playing days, just to kind of be able to take it all in and go back to that arena, and it's just a phenomenal country.
So what's next for you? What are you doing?
Next for me, to be honest with you, right now I'm enjoying. I haven't been home and had to wear a jacket in, 12 years. So I'm enjoying being able to wear a sweater in the cold weather right now, because it's something, again, I haven't done in a long time. I'm looking forward to Christmas home with my family, even under these circumstances in the pandemic. Home is still home. So right now I'm actually focused on enjoying my time at home. I'm still weighing my playing options for after the new year. My season last year went very late into the summer, and as an older player, I need to rest my body a bit. But to be honest with you, I still feel like I can play at a very high level. I've taken care of my body. I have not had an injury since my rookie year that turned out to not be very significant. So I'm still kind of weighing options. I am considering, the coaching aspect in the NBA, the executive aspect. That stuff intrigues me. Again, I love the game, and I look at the game a lot different now than I did when I was a younger player. So I still feel like I have a lot to give to the game of basketball, and I think I'm pretty good at it. So I'm looking forward to the next step, and I'm looking forward to whatever opportunities present themselves in the next few weeks. I'll for sure know a lot more.
And you have a new podcast and it's about playing basketball around the world.
Yeah, I actually started a podcast with one of my closest friends. His name is Peyton Siva. He's the point guard now of Alba Berlin. He won a national championship with Louisville back in 2013 or whatever it was. And it's mainly about the connections and showing people how small the basketball world really is. When you play the game for as long as I have, you meet and make so many relationships, and those relationships in the game of basketball are so much bigger than the game of basketball. That's kind of what the podcast is about. We have a lot of really cool guests lined up to come on. Guys from Sean McDonough, one of the local, who's a really good friend of mine. Guys like Mark Gasol, Ray Allen, Carl English, just a lot of guys with really unique stories. It's kind of like campfire stories. We just kind of get on and we reminisce and talk and try to be as personable as we can so that listeners, anyone that wants to listen, has something to tune into and get a laugh from, and it's really lighthearted, and that was the purpose for starting it, and we just enjoy doing it. So it's called Ball Around the World, kind of a play on words and all around the world, and it's on Spotify, iTunes, it's on every podcast platform that exists.
Oh, that sounds great. Well, thanks for answering my questions.
George, it's always a pleasure catching up with you. It's definitely been way too long, and I really appreciate you guys for having me today.
Thanks for coming in. That's Tony Gaffney, greatest basketball player ever to play at Somerset High School. Catch his podcast. Our musical guest for today's show is Bella Manchester. Bella has been singing since she was about 2 years old. She's been in 30 community and school shows, and she's been in 2 professional shows, including Mamma Mia at the Zeiterion Theater and A Wonderful Life at the Ocean State Theater Company. Ladies and gentlemen, Bella Manchester.
are dear to us, gather near to us once more. Through the years we all will be together, if the fates allow. Hang a shining star upon the highest bough, and have yourself a merry little Christmas now.
All right, so, wow, if that doesn't get people in the holiday spirit, I don't know what will. But you've been doing that since you were 2 years old.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about that? How did you develop your voice?
Oh, when I was very young, I started with dancing, and then that kind of developed into theater because my dance studio had shows going on, and I participated in like community events. And from there, I figured out, hey, this is something I really, really enjoy. So I spent years of voice lessons with my friend Kara, and then I proceeded to go on with more voice lessons with people like Casey Geronimo. I did some college work, and then I ended up performing in a lot of different shows, and I kind of gained that training. Yeah.
And so now you're at Case High School
Yes.
in your junior year, and you just got done with Susical,
Yes.
and you were one of the stars in that.
Oh, thank you.
Can you tell me what you had to do to put a show together like that during the pandemic? What were some of the different things that you had to do that you normally wouldn't have had to do for a regular show?
It was a very interesting experience, but like as equal as amazing because as hard as it is in this time period to do things that we love to do, like sing, which is something that obviously it's not safe to do without masks. We had to figure out ways to go around that. So throughout the whole show we wore masks. We were all social distanced through the whole performance, unless you were by yourself singing on the stage, and that was the way that we could take off our masks and sing. But yeah, it was a 4-week rehearsal experience because with the weather and it getting colder, it had to be outside. So yeah, we had limited time to put up a show, but we did our best and we did an amazing job.
Well, I'm sure the community appreciated it because we don't have much in the terms of entertainment right now. So
unfortunately.
And they have such a great reputation for theater at Case. I'm sure it was a great show.
It was.
So what's next for you? Do you have another show in the works? Or?
I wish I could say what is next for me, but I know Case Theater is in for the works. Our amazing director, Neil Geronimo, he's definitely doing all that he can to give us the best year possible. But we're thinking of doing a cabaret, maybe virtual, but don't quote me on that. I'm not sure if it's going to go through, but we're definitely trying our best. We sing in class outside. It's a very great environment, and yeah.
Okay. That's Bella Manchester, ladies and gentlemen. Be watching for when her next performances are.